player. It winds up being your first loss. Wonder what you remember from that, number one. And is he the only person that calls you Bo?
You know, a lot of people from Lions do, and PJ, Carlissimo. There's a few people.
All right, what about that game, though? It had to be your second game. You beat Harvard in the first, and then he was a pretty decent player on that West.
Yeah, he was a good player. They had a good team. You know, we didn't do the things we needed to do. We learned from that game because I think we had to go on the road and play Boston College and Louisville and very, very good teams. And I think we won. I'm pretty sure that we won both those games and went on ahead. You know, I think we only lost maybe a couple games with the regular season there. I might be misremembering. I might, very possible. But
so you're pretty good. You lost that one, but won the next 7.
Yeah, I think we only lost to St. Bonnie maybe that year in the regular season. I don't know. Maybe that might have been a different year, but it was around that time.
What kind of player was he, though? Quickly.
Good shooters, physical player, smart player, real good player. We got him back later that year. We beat him in Syracuse.
Next, we'll go to Mike Waters.
Jim, I was going to ask you about that same game with Bob Huggins, but to switch it up just a little bit. When you're coaching against somebody, you look out and you're watching a player on the floor, can you tell if that player's going to become like a future coach like Bob did?
No, there's no way to really tell that. I think if you see when you do see a coach someday, you can look back a little bit and think, well, he was a smart player. Yeah, I mean, I always thought I was a smart player, but then I became a not smart coach for a long time.
Next, we'll go to Nico Tamarian.
Thanks, Adi. Hi, Coach. So often when we get to these previews for the NCAA tournament, it's, what challenges West Virginia present, but really the way you all have been playing, the improvements on both sides of the ball, I mean, how does that set up for this matchup? Is it more just about you executing what you have done the last few games?
Well, in the NCAA tournament, you have to play your best. You have to, I mean, it's, you just get ready for the next game, and we've obviously been playing good basketball for a while. I think that we have to not put too much faith or too much think too much about what happened with San Diego State. It's a different game. They had a horrendous shooting night, and that played into the game, the results. West Virginia is a really good basketball team. They have better shooting than they've had at West Virginia for a while. Even though we haven't played them, I've watched them play the last few years, and they've been physical, really good pressure defensive team. They haven't been as good offensively as they are this year. They're really good offensive basketball team, and again, they present a tremendous challenge to us. And as would have San Diego State. San Diego State just, our defense was better, but part of it was they missed a lot of shots. They really didn't shoot the ball well, and you have to look at that, remember that.
Thank you. Next up is Steve McCarthy.
Pardon?
Steve McCarthy from the Associated Press. I'm sorry. I was just wondering, you were the only ACC team that won last night. There weren't any ACC teams seeded higher than 4th in the field this year. I was just wondering, from your perspective, what was different about the Atlantic Coast Conference this season versus?
Well, we weren't quite as good at the top. Obviously, Carolina and Duke weren't as good as they've been. Virginia, it was good, but they struggled during the middle of the year. we didn't really have a top 10, 15, top 16 team, top 20 team, really, at the end of the day. We had a lot of good teams, but, Georgia Tech, I think, was probably playing as well as anybody, and they lose their best player. They lose the conference player of the year. If he had played, I don't think there's any doubt that they would win the way they've been playing. So that was a big loss for Georgia Tech to lose that guy, and but the league we didn't have a top 20 team this year, and I think we have good teams. I think NC State was a good team. The teams that made the tournament obviously are good. I think Duke was really playing well at the end of the year. I think they would have had a really good chance to upset Florida State and if they had, they would have gotten in this tournament. It was unfortunate. They were good all year long and didn't have any problems and really isolated, really took care of it, and it's just one guy. And that's sad. But again, like I think NC State's a really good team. If they hadn't, we'd struggle with them. If they'd have beaten us 3 times, they'd have been in the tournament, and we'd have been home. So, and then, there was a little fall off at the bottom of the league, but the middle teams, the first 10 teams were, I think, pretty quality basketball teams, but we didn't have those top 20 team that we normally have and have had. We had 3 number 1 seeds not too long ago. Can't remember when, but not too long ago. So, the league just wasn't as good at the top.
Next, we'll go to Howard Fendrick.
Hi, I want to ask you about the first time, if you can recall, you remember sort of looking at Buddy as a coach-player relationship maybe instead of father-son, and thought to yourself, this is a guy who can help me win games?
Yeah, I always was his biggest fan. Jimmy and Buddy, my 2 sons, are a little different. Jimmy's always been confident that he would do whatever it was, whether it was baseball, baseball, or golf, basketball. Jimmy still thinks he's the best golfer in the family. He can't break 50, but, he actually just has barely started to break 50. But Jimmy has an overload of tremendous confidence, which helps him, and it's helped him become a really good basketball player, really good at a lot of things. And Buddy's always been a little underconfident, and so I've always tried to build him up. His mother is really good at that, telling him how good he is and what he can do. She's been really the force behind Buddy and Jimmy, really, and Sissy. She pushes them in a good way, athletically. I've never really talked to any of the 3 of them that much about their basketball. Buddy the most. Jimmy and I talk basketball all the time. He studies the game, sees the game pretty well. I'm just hoping he takes his 3.9 average in business and does something besides coach with it. But, we'll see how that works out down the road. But I always thought Buddy'd be good because he could shoot the ball. He had the stroke early. Jimmy's shot was a little different, but Jimmy's now a pretty good shooter now. But I thought Buddy's stroke was there. I knew he was going to get bigger. I didn't know if he'd get to be 6'6", but that certainly has helped him. I always had reservations about him playing at Syracuse, but when he played at Peach Jam after his junior year, he led the Nike summer circuit, 3-point field goals, and I felt like he's getting better. I knew he would work at the game. He works at the game harder than anybody I've ever seen. He'll work out. We play 3 games in a week, take Sunday off. He works out Sunday. In fact, he's worked out twice on Sunday in those exact same situations, a 2-hour strength and conditioning program and a 2-hour individual workout. After games, he'll come and shoot. I knew he would work hard. I thought it might take him a little while. His freshman year, he really impacted our program. He won some games, 2 against Pittsburgh, 1 against Boston College, 1 against Miami, that I don't think we would have won without him. In the beginning of the year, his freshman year, he shot about 17% from 3. So, you know, it was a struggle early, but then he got it all together and really shot it well in the conference, and you know, backed it up with a good year last year and this year. But yeah, after that Peach Jam game, I thought, you know, he can help us. I remember they were playing Penny's team, Team Penny, and I think he had 7 threes in the game, and I was walking off the court, and one of the Team Penny people says, "What, 7?" And ironic thing, he did it right. Roy Williams was sitting right where he was taking the threes from, and Roy said, "You better take that kid." I think, yeah, he was right.
Thank you, Coach. Next, we'll go to Mario Sacco.
Coach, along those same lines, but Buddy just said, you know, I said, can you play with a chip on your shoulder, and do you have that chip on your shoulder? Have you seen that out of him? Can you take off the coach hat and put on the dad hat? And was there times where, you know, it's really struggled playing for you? Have you seen that? And what has helped him, you know, blossom into the player he is?
Well, he struggled a little bit his freshman year, but, you know, we didn't need him. I wasn't planning on him that much. But then right about the time the conference started, he started making shots. I mean, he made some really huge shots in those games that I mentioned that we were struggling. We were behind in Miami, Boston College, Pittsburgh. We were behind in all those games, and he hit a couple threes and got us back in. It was really important. And then, of course, his sophomore year had a really solid year. Last year, he was pretty consistent all year. This year, the COVID, I think, hurt his stamina. Stamina affects shooters if you're not able to run and move. It affects your legs, your shooting. But then he picked it up at the end of this year, and he's been really good.
Next, we'll go to Cody Nesper.
Coach, I was just wondering if you could kind of tell us about your relationship with Coach Huggins. You two have obviously known each other for a long time.
Yeah, we've known each other a long time. He's a great guy. We kid each other all the time. He kids me about being old, and I kid him about being big. But he's a great coach. He's what basketball's all about. He loves basketball, and he lives to coach, and he won't quit coaching, ever. I mean, they think I'm coaching. He'll be coaching way past this, way past me.
Next up is Stephen Bailey.
Hey, Jim. You know, knowing what you know about Coach Huggins, how do you expect him to try and limit Buddy, and how does that factor into your game planning?
Well, they're a very good defensive team, so they'll focus on them. But everybody has that we played. But I think the best thing about the game is that when Buddy had to come out with the 2 fouls, everybody picked it up. Joe, Robert, everybody really played well in offense. And Marek had an underrated game. He was really good. He did a lot of things that really helped our team, as he always does. And I just thought everybody picked it up and really played well. It wasn't, Buddy kept us in there, and then in the second half when they made a little bit of a move, he hit 2 big, pretty tough threes to get some space there. But everybody is focused on Buddy from the beginning of the year. That helps some of our other guys get opportunities and dribbling lanes that wouldn't be there. But our main concern with West Virginia is they're a really, really good offensive basketball team, and they've got multiple guys that can hurt you. The big guy inside is a physical monster. He played with Buddy up at Brewster, so I've watched him play in high school. He's really a really physical presence in the game. So they've got a really good team, really good basketball team.
We have time for 2 more questions. We'll go to Sam Caniglio now.
Hey, Coach. It's obviously been about a decade since you guys have faced one another since the conference realignment. I'm curious if you've had, a second to reflect on maybe how going into the ACC has affected your team on the court, and if you see any similar changes in trajectory, with West Virginia.
The conference change has been good for both programs. West Virginia has been great in the Big 12. It's been a great conference, great fit for them. And the ACC has been great for our athletic department, our whole program, all of our programs. And that was the impetus for change, what was good for the entire athletic department.
For our final question, we'll go to Dan Tortora.
Coach, just what you can say about being in such a unique year to get to this point of the NCAA tournament after the start and stops and everything you've had to go through, just your takeaways from that, and then actually getting to see some fans in the stands again and what that means to you. Well,
it was really good to see the fans. I think Joe really reacted to it the best. I think he's missed that, I think, the most probably on our team. But the season is, as I said before, the players and the administrators, people running the regular season, the tournament, the way that people have run the tournament here, it's been an unbelievable exercise. I mean, what the players have had to go through, but they wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, it's not just that we could get here, but that we could play the season was a blessing. And to get here is just been, it's just such a blessing. I can't describe to you how important this has been. And I think that in any situation, this tournament, I think I heard Buddy mention something about this. We have a great relationship with our girls program and Coach Q, and to see that NCAA, see the thing with the weight room with the girls was hugely disappointing, and it's something that will be corrected. Dan Gavitt runs this tournament, and he's done an unbelievable job getting this to this point, and he's like his father. He's a great man, and he will get that corrected. I know at Syracuse, the chancellor has been specific for years that the girls have the same exact practice facility that we have, the same locker rooms, the same offices, the same housing arrangements. They eat the same food, which isn't always good, but the same food, and do the things that the men do, and they should, and that should be exactly the same for the men and women in this tournament. And obviously, from looking at that, that's something that I think it will be corrected. I really do, and I think it's good. I was really happy to see the young girl came out, said that. I think the things that the men's players have said, the image and likeness thing, should have been done. I think it would have been done already, but now you have the Supreme Court in it and you have the Congress in it, so we'll see how that goes. But that name, image and license thing should get through. It'll have a lot of unintended problems with it, but that's all right. I think the transfer rule is it's done, and that will have its unintended consequences as well. But I think that the NCAA has tried to move in the right direction, I know it's an underrated thing, but getting the meals and things a few years ago and the cost of attendance was big for players. They do get checks every month, and that's kind of been overlooked a little bit. But I think those things will improve moving forward. I think the game of college basketball is in a great position. I think that, some guys are going to go to the G League. That's going to happen. But when you watch Oral Roberts play and you watch really a lot of teams, but, Greensboro, you watch some of these teams, Norfolk, you can go right down the list. There's a lot of good basketball players in this country. The two guys at Oral Roberts are just about as good as anybody I've seen this year. And, so there's players, there's a lot of players, and our game will be good. I think the more we do for the players, the better. And I think that the NCAA is definitely headed in that direction.